and let us all do we can to build a better future.
The Democrats and the squad, specifically the squad. Let's talk about the squad. Now, obviously, we talked about that infamous interruption that AOC had when two activists spoke out and challenged her at her Q&A. But since then, there's been further falling out with the squad in regards towards how they've handled themselves this midterm election cycle, as well as how they've handled progressive policies, especially during the year of 2021 with the aftermath when Biden and Harris took over the White House. Let's be clear here. There was this assumption, at least from the larger Vote Blue, no matter who channels and the sycophants that carry water for progressives in the Democratic Party, there was this idea that somehow they were going to hold Biden's feet to the fire and push him left on policy issues. But no, all we got were tweets was, hey, what does UBI mean for you? What does student debt forgiveness mean for you and your family? What would cannabis legalization mean for you? Nothing but feel-good tweets, no action. The squad was inactive when Jimmy Dore and so many other heroic activists and organizers hosted the Force the Vote town hall. Again, a lot of people tuned in. The squad was MIA. They weren't there for Force the Vote for Medicare for All. They didn't even use their political power to, stand up to Mama Bear Nancy. We saw firsthand how AOC cried when old hagbag Nancy decided to wag her decrepit finger at AOC, causing AOC to turn her no vote to a present vote for the Iron Dome. We've seen firsthand how the squad, especially when AOC and Cori Bush had to run and stop Nancy from adjourning Congress in 2021, where, again, millions of Americans were at risk of being evicted from their homes and apartments. We also saw they were MIA for the March for Medicare for All. They were nowhere to be seen for a 3-day General Strike Summit meeting. So I got this clip here. Again, shout out to Case Study QB, who, is wrongly being censored by Twitter. Case Study QB is wrongly being censored by Twitter, and I really am starting to get annoyed by it because there is this one tweet that he has pinned on his Twitter page, and I've lost track now. It's similar to that Tulsi Gabbard tweet where she called out Hillary Clinton. My likes keep on getting removed from it, and so has Hardlands Media's likes from it. Now, maybe this is a new feature that Twitter has where you can constantly like a tweet again, but obviously it's showing that Twitter is being unfair to Case Study QB. So if you could do me a favor, please follow his Twitter page and please subscribe to his YouTube channel and Odyssey page, because the last thing I want is to see all his hard work disappear. He's doing some phenomenal work. But now let's go ahead and play this video where on Fox News discussing how quiet the progressives have been and how the squad has been before the midterm election cycle, and how basically, more or less, the squad's going to get blamed, whether they like it or not. So let's play this video.
I think it's been very interesting that the squad has been very quiet these last few weeks. And I assume that's because they don't want to be blamed by the moderate Democrats if it does, in fact, go this way.
Well, let me be clear. They will be blamed, but for things that they've been doing for the last 2 years and 4 years that are still lurking around. There are still ads being run with voices of Cori Bush and AOC and Rashida Tlaib talking about defunding the police, making anti-Israel statements, for instance, and those will be aired until they are no longer in Congress and probably even beyond that. Certainly in these moderate districts where people who should not be on the back foot are suddenly on the back foot having to defend.
I think it's been very interesting.
So there you go. We're witnessing it firsthand where the squad is going to get a blame. Now, I do want to say this for our viewers and subscribers. It shouldn't come to no surprise that no matter what the squad does or whatever they will do as we nearing the end of November, the squad could have done more. They could have pushed more. They could have rallied their political movement. They could have used their political power far better. But they chose not to. They chose to be indifferent. So let's go ahead and play another video here for our viewers, especially when it comes down to looking at how the squad or at least another segment on Fox News where they were discussing how AOC was being protested at her own town hall. Because again, if Fox News has to bring up the fact that, hey, where's that oh so fantastic peace movement that the left used to have, you know things are getting bad, especially for your political organization and your political movement. So if Fox News has to call you, and let's be very clear, Fox News is like corporate media. We're seeing utter hypocrisy here. So let's go ahead and see the squad once again being called out.
Far-left Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez getting heckled, shouted down by former supporters of hers. They're furious over the Democrats' support for sending military aid to Ukraine. You're voting to start a thermonuclear war with Russia and China. Why are you playing with the lives of American citizens? You have done nothing. I believed in you, and you became the very thing you sought to fight against. Why not right now? Greg, they weren't close enough to make her eyes water, but what do you make of this?
I don't know. I mean, it's always fun to see, you know, a leftist yell at a leftist. But there is kind of an interesting flip going on here where hardcore leftists are in bed with the hawks. A lot of them are. And then you're seeing the right trying to slow the roll of nuclear war. Some analysts are putting up the odds of a nuclear event at 25%. Maybe it's just going to look like that and it won't happen. But you think everyone would put that at the very top of their list of their priorities, preventing global extinction, right? But if you mention the P word, peace, or the N word, negotiation, you will be branded by the neocon, hard left nexus as being a propagandist or a Putin lover, just because you want to prevent absolute global destruction. So it's kind of odd to see people, for example, yesterday, we were talking about people that are like climate change. The earth is going to be destroyed, and but they're okay with, they're not even paying attention to this. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, some of that comes.
Hold on. I realized that I was just being muted. So there we go. I realized I was just being muted. Sorry about that, folks. That was on me. That was me. I accidentally clicked the mute button. Sorry about that. So there we go. That was on me. Apologies. So what I wanted to say was Miguel H. He gave a shout out. Why not right now? I want to give a shout out to Miguel H. I was just reading some chats from the live stream. Apologies for it being muted. She could have held this town hall in a closet. Big crowd. Turkey Day says the squad morphed into the tentacle of the global squid. And Illinois says, being rude, you're in public office, honey. So there you go. Apologies for that, folks. So that's on me. And Bad Cookies, rightfully so, says Kit 0, Phase 1. There you go. And Phase is always the home runner. So there you go.
From the attitude of conservatives from Trump, does it not?
Yeah, he awakened an isolationist wing of the party, and that's good. It's healthy, I think, for both parties to question some of the more hawks that run things. But there is no more principled left in this country. The principled anti-war left is gone. You saw that during the Cold War. You saw it during the first Gulf War, Iraq War, obviously, and then you remember you had people like AOC during the Soleimani strike. They were like, "Oh, that's a war crime," or anything Trump did internationally was a war crime. And then Biden is just like feeding the war machine over Ukraine. And I don't even need to debate that, but she's just writing checks from the Treasury, like, go for it. Raytheon, go for it. Go unleash the war machine. And usually you have people on that far left wing of the Democratic Party. They don't want any war. They want peace. Remember, make love, not war. Make love, not war is over. Those days are over. Harold is looking at me like, not in my house. But those days are over. And you need.
Yeah, that guy looks like a real creeper.
That on both sides. Now it looks like the only people really questioning the war effort are Republicans. They're not saying we don't need to go to war. They're just saying, what are we doing here? Is this in our national security interest? And that's healthy.
what do you make of AOC getting yelled at? You know, she didn't sit in at Nancy Pelosi's office like 4 years ago. Yeah. She's getting, again.
All right, so enough from the people of Fox News. Like, I think we know what they're saying. And here's the thing. This is how you know that the movement in the left is clearly drowning. It's because the idea that the Democratic Party cares about being anti-war is a fool's notion. What do I mean by this? Well, ever since the Reagan administration, we've seen both political parties, mind you, they're one and the same. It's not two different parties. They're all the same. The Democratic Party is just the same as the Republican Party. The only difference is the Democrats put on this neoliberal mask, convincing everyone that somehow they're correct on the political issues when in fact they're not. The Democratic Party and all the people associated take money and resources from lobby groups that also donate to Republican politicians. That means both parties are funded by organizations that profit off of war, military industrial complex, big oil, etc., etc., etc. And it shouldn't come to no surprise now that we're seeing people on Fox News, of all places, calling out the left in its vain attempt to somehow trying to reform the Democratic Party. Hey, Cenk Uygur, Kyle Kalinske, how's that working out, knowing that you've wasted so much of your time and energy into political candidates who soon became politicians, who no longer show up on your shows, are now on board for absolute total war? Now, I don't really expect much from Cenk or Kyle because they're both hypocrites, especially where Kyle recently got demolished by his own audience for being Captain Save a politician. So there you go. But I think CJ from Revolutionary Blackout Network gave a proper response to that utter fool into thinking that somehow you can reform the Democratic Party. You can't. You can't reform the Democratic Party. You cannot save anyone in the two-party system because both parties are inherently corrupt. And see, the thing is, what a lot of progressive Democrats are willing to do is stay silent. They're willing to stay quiet. Now, we've covered on this show, too, on how, again, the DCCC has been all on board giving financial resources to Trump-like Republicans in races throughout this entire midterm election cycle. The Democratic Party is doing that, which goes to point to something I have said, Daniel have said on the show. The Democrats are more than willing to lose to someone like Trump or Trump-like Republicans than have a Bernie Sanders, or dare I say maybe a Bernie Sanders was a backbone, win an election. We saw firsthand how we have all these Democratic politicians. Look, they put on a show saying that they were being anti-Trump. But listen, I know there's that video going out where Nancy somehow has conveniently a documentary crew following her. Yeah, very convenient. How come that video didn't show up when it happened? Only now, out of the blue, is this video coming out there. Like, oh my goodness, what a big revelation. I call BS on that. I call BS on that. I gotta call BS on that. But anyways, that's beyond the point. You have these politicians, especially people like Nancy, who were more than happy to support a lot of Trump's policies. And since the Biden-Harris administration got into office, they're still carrying on with a lot of Trump's foreign and domestic policies. And, of course, you're going to have this segment here. Again, shout out to Case Study QB, where you have now pundits shocked that somehow, oh no, these Trump-like Republicans, they're in power and the Democrats need to start being aggressive. The Democrats don't know what it means to be aggressive. Why? Because they're supposed to lose. They're supposed to be cowards. They're not fighters, folks. What do I mean? Check this out right here.
Tim, one last question. I want to play you a clip of Arizona's far-right Republican gubernatorial candidate, Kari Lake, on CNN this morning. Have a listen.
Will you accept the results of your election in November?
I'm going to win the election and I will accept that result.
If you lose, will you accept that?
I'm going to win the election and I will accept that result.
Okay, so here's the thing. On the one hand, look, maybe you should be a little concerned with that, but that's what you kind of want to see from your candidate. You know, the person you want to vote for. Like, yeah, I'm going to win this. Yeah, we're going to win this. Hashtag the Rubicon Party. No matter how this election goes, we're crossing the Rubicon going to Rome. But that's Hard Lens Media, so no one else can take that, all right? Plus, we also have the Volcano Party, too, dropping Congress into Volcano, which I think would be a very popular policy amongst American voters. I think they get a big kick out of it. But anyways, I just found that interesting. Like, she was saying that. And while I could see how, again, you have these people from MSDNC, crapping their pants, I found that to be a little hilarious. Like, yeah, I'm going to win this election. That's a result I'm going to accept. And the thing is, you got to have a winner's mindset when you're in politics. We're just going to play that one more time.
Results of your election in November.
I'm going to win the election and I will accept that result.
If you lose, will you accept that?
I'm going to win the election and I will accept that result.
Tim, I feel like there are still a lot of people in our liberal media and in the Democratic Party who still don't quite realize what kind of car crash is heading our way in both November 2022 and November 2024. People like Lake on the right are not hiding their anti-democratic fascist credentials, are they?
They are not, and I'm right. This is an example of a race where I'm concerned about how the Democrats are running. Kari Lake is an insane person. Not only is she not going to respect the results of a democratic election, but she has an extreme position on abortion with no exceptions that only like 5% of the country holds. She wants cameras in the classroom monitoring for quote unquote groomer teachers. She wants to drone the border with Arizona money. I mean, this is an extremist. And the Democrats, I feel, are.
Mind you, buddy, before you start saying, oh no, she's an extremist, don't forget the DCCC has been donating resources to these Trump-like Republicans. So before you get on this little platform and start screaming your little heart out like, oh no, look at them. Hey, who's giving them money? Who's giving them resources? Who's giving them free airtime? Who's doing that? Hey, ask old Hillary Clinton how that worked out for her in 2016. It blew up in her old face. Mind you, on the one hand, I was kind of laughing on that day. Why was I laughing? Oh, no. Hang on. I could see some Vote Blue No Matter Who people crying at me right now. Because I remember Philadelphia. I was there at the Wells Fargo Center. I saw firsthand how Hillary Clinton supporters and volunteers and voters were treating Bernie Sanders delegates. I saw how they were treating Green Party people. It was so brutal. The assaults, the name calling, the constant threats. Speaking to a lot of delegates there and volunteers who were associated with the Bernie Sanders campaign, all their stories were the same about being threatened, being bullied, being physically assaulted, being spit on. It all adds up. And hey, Bernie, this is the Democratic Party that's been constantly screwing you over and the progressive movement and giving money to Trump-like Republicans. So you know what? Cry me a river.
A little bit listless in this campaign. You can run against her. I don't care, really, if you run as a moderate Democrat or as a more progressive Democrat, but run as an aggressive Democrat who takes the fight to this dangerous candidate. And that is, I think, the big lesson as we head into the last 3 weeks.
I think you're right. Democrats need to run much more aggressively against these extremists.
Yeah, that's not going to happen, buddy. Sorry. All right, so I got to cut you off there because I'm tired of listening to idiots talk. So hold on. One last segment I want to bring up here. And I think it's important for every one of you to see. Because this should show just how, I guess, out of touch people like Rokana are. This tweet caught my attention. Because, again, no matter what they do, they're still going to lose. But there's a takeaway from this. There's a couple of takeaways from this that I want all of you to hear about this. And that is, one, AOC sure is not popular. The squad is failing. Because, of course, Rokana is going to say, guess who remains the most popular Democrat politician in the nation? Bernie the Cuck Sanders, by far in net favorables. And this poll is conducted by Mark Penn, hardly biased for Bernie. What do I mean? Well, here's this image right here. You got Donald Boy Trump, Donnie the Trump, the red, I call him the red Cheeto, the orange Cheeto, right here. Obviously, right? Favorable, unfavorable. You got Mike Pence. Ugh, God. Got Joe Biden. Unfavorable, 51%. Looks like that guy's losing a lot. Turns out he's not popular. Here you have Bernie the Cuck Sanders, almost on par with Trump. Kamala Harris. What a failure. You got Hillary Clinton, still universally despised. Nancy Pelosi, universally despised. AOC. Look at that right there. I'm surprised like this. Nancy's more popular than AOC, and so is Hillary Clinton. A lot of takeaways from this. Mitch McConnell, obviously, really hated and despised. All these politicians. Hey, look. Whoa, Vladimir Putin. What are you doing here, buddy? What are you doing here, buddy? You're not an American politician. He found his way to get into American politics. Well done, Putin. So here, a couple of takeaways you can get from this segment right now. Number one, politicians, even international, are universally despised. The progressive movement, especially the squad's going to get blamed for the Democrats' failure in the midterms. AOC is less popular than Hillary Clinton. And Hillary Clinton's still not popular. So is neither Nancy Pelosi. Kamala Harris, 0 delegates as always, but at least she's doing well in the negative 10s. So what can we take away from all this? Don't waste your time voting Republican. Don't waste your time voting Democrat. Support third parties, folks. If you really want to make a difference, build movements and organizations that are not connected to Washington, D.C. That's how you can build a better future. Don't hold out for hope for these politicians. They don't like you. They don't think about you. They don't respect you.